There's something eerie about silence that doesn't belong. Not the peaceful kind, I'm talking about that stillness that presses too hard on your ears like it's hiding something behind it. That's what our apartment felt like for the past month. Everything looked the same. The book still leaned on the shelf at the wrong angle. Her favorite hoodie still hung off the kitchen chair like it always did. But it was all a prop house. Soulless. And I couldn't put my finger on why. Until she sent me that text. I was sitting at the kitchen table, sorting through work emails, staring at an empty plate from the dinner she didn't have time to make. She'd left 2 hours ago to help her cousin with apartment paperwork. A weak excuse, she always gave vague tasks with no timeline attached. But the second I saw her message, I didn't care about the lie anymore. I cared about what it exposed. Guess what? I'm on a date, LOL, just kidding, babe. 7 words. That was it. Not even a real sentence. But it didn't read like a joke. There was no build-up, no punchline. It was thrown in like bait, careless bait. And something about it, no, everything about it felt wrong. My reply came before I even knew what I was doing. Nice try. Turn around. Now. The second I hit send, I stared at my screen, expecting either silence or more smug nonsense. Instead, her response was nearly instant. Wait, what? Are you outside or something? What do you mean turn around? No, LOL, this time. No fake laughter. Just panic. She was somewhere she shouldn't have been. And she thought I was right there watching her. My pulse jumped. She thought I caught her. That wasn't the response of someone playing a prank. That was the response of someone who'd just gotten caught mid-lie and was scrambling to figure out where the hole had formed in their story. I didn't reply. I didn't have to. I opened the apartment's building app and checked the front door camera feed. Empty. I scrolled back 30 minutes. There she was. Tight jeans, low-cut top, makeup heavier than usual. She wasn't going to help her cousin sign papers, she was dressed for something else entirely. And the part that got me? She checked herself out in the reflection of the elevator door, adjusted her bra, and smiled. That smile haunted me. I didn't wait. I called her cousin. She picked up on the 3rd ring. Hey, is she with you? I asked casually. With me? No, I haven't seen her since Christmas. There it was. The whole lie, just like that. Fragile. Paper-thin. Destroyed by a 3-second conversation. I ended the call without another word. I stared at my phone. Then I went still. You know that moment when you realize nothing, not one part of your life, is what you thought it was? I'd never felt anything like it. Like the floor gave way but you're somehow still standing. I got in my car. Not to follow her. I didn't need to. I already knew enough. But I drove anyway. No destination. I just needed motion. Something that made noise. Something that didn't feel like the suffocating quiet of our apartment. The quiet she built with her secrets. And while I was circling the city with my thoughts tearing themselves apart, she texted again. Okay, wait. Why aren't you responding? You're freaking me out. It was just a joke. Relax. Then another one. You're being really weird. Are you tracking me or something? And finally, I don't like this. You're scaring me now. Where are you? I didn't reply to any of them. Not because I wanted to keep her guessing, but because I didn't trust what I'd say. Instead, I turned around. I went home. I sat back at that same table. And I waited. And when she walked through that door, fake casual, with her keys jingling like nothing had happened, I saw it in her face. She wasn't expecting me to be there. That was the moment the war began. She froze when she saw me. Didn't drop her keys. Didn't gasp. She froze the way someone does when they're calculating. Like her brain needed 3 seconds to line up a new script. She blinked once, gave me this quick little laugh that didn't touch her eyes and said, "Oh, you're home early." No apology. No curiosity. No warmth. Just that. Like I was the one who'd messed up her night. I didn't say anything. I let the silence build. Not the dead silence of earlier. This was different. Tighter. Sharper. She knew. I knew. But we hadn't said it out loud yet, so in her head, maybe she still had a way out. She walked past me, too casual, and opened the fridge like she was looking for something to snack on. Then, over her shoulder. "So what was that text about? You trying to mess with me or something?" I stared at the back of her head. "You were on a date," I said, Flat. Cold. No question mark. She turned around slowly. Didn't deny it. Didn't confirm it. Just tilted her head like I'd said something in a different language. You think I'd actually do that? You really don't trust me. I stood up. Your cousin hasn't seen you in 3 months. You wore heels to sign apartment papers? You dressed like that to help with paperwork. She shrugged. Shrugged. I went to grab drinks with a friend after. Is that illegal now? Who? A friend. Jesus, do I need to give you a guest list every time I leave the apartment? She was shifting now, getting more defensive, more annoyed. Like I was ruining her night by demanding answers. But I wasn't asking anymore. I was watching. Her tone. Her posture. Her lies tripping over each other, getting sloppier with every breath. What friend? I asked again. And this time she made the mistake. You don't know him. Him. There it was. Slipped out too fast. Too smooth. Her face twitched the second she realized it. But she doubled down. Yeah, a guy friend. It's not a big deal. We talk sometimes. You're making this into something it's not. I stepped closer. Not to intimidate her. Just so she couldn't back away and pretend it was all harmless. I looked her dead in the eye. So you went to get drinks. With a man. Dressed like that. Lied to me about where you were. And when I called you out, you panicked and thought I was standing behind you. But it's not a big deal. She didn't blink. Just exhaled loud. Dramatic. She was cornered and playing for chaos now. You're obsessed. You want control over everything I do. You track my phone, you interrogate me like I'm a criminal. You know what? Maybe I do have friends I don't tell you about. Because look at you. You act like you're entitled to every second of my life. I stared at her. Not because I didn't know what to say. I had 1,000 things I wanted to scream. But because I realized what she was doing. She wasn't defending herself. She was attacking me to cover the fact that she had nothing. No story. No truth. Just a mess of half-lies she was trying to repurpose into indignation. I'm not tracking you, I said. I just stopped trusting you. And then I'll never forget this, she smiled. Slowly. A twitch in the corner of her mouth. Then don't, she said. No one asked you to. She walked past me again. Not scared. Not regretful. Not even embarrassed. Like she'd won. Like it was all just background noise to her. I stood there, alone in the middle of the room, and something inside me shifted. That was the moment I knew this wasn't just about lying. This woman wasn't capable of guilt. And whatever she was hiding, it was worse than I'd imagined. The next morning, everything was exactly where it always was, except none of it felt real anymore. She was in the kitchen pouring coffee like she hadn't detonated our life 12 hours ago. Hair up, sweatshirt on, humming to herself, scrolling through her phone. I watched her from the hallway, unnoticed. That's when it hit me. She wasn't just lying to me. She'd been living in this dual reality, wearing one face in our home and slipping into another the moment she left it. She didn't say good morning. She didn't ask how I slept. She handed me a coffee like she was being generous, like that erased everything. You going into the office today? She asked without looking up. No. I've got stuff to handle here. She nodded, distracted. Cool. I'll be out most of the day. There it was again. The preloaded exit. No details. No invitation. Just her subtle way of saying, don't ask. I didn't press. I let her think I was retreating. But I followed her, not physically, not yet digitally. See, months ago, I set up a shared cloud for photos and schedules. She forgot. Her phone was still backing up automatically. And I never turned off the login. While she was in the shower, I logged in. First, the camera roll. Nothing suspicious on the surface. A couple selfies. A screenshot of a meme. Harmless. Until I dug into the hidden folder. There were photos. Blurry, dim, clearly taken in secret. One showed her sitting across from a man at what looked like a rooftop bar. His face wasn't clear, angled away, cropped tight, but the hand on her knee was in full view. Another picture showed her outside the same bar, kissing him in the back seat of a car. Not staged. Not a joke. Real. Raw. And not recent. These pictures were from weeks ago. She hadn't just cheated. She documented it. Saved it. I sat back in my chair, heart in my throat. This wasn't spontaneous. It wasn't a one-time slip. She was collecting moments with another man. Like our life together was the cover story and this other one was the actual film running behind the scenes. I kept digging. In her notes app, there was a list titled Names. I opened it. 3 names. All first names. 1 underlined. And next to that one? A little phrase, clean. Ready. Can move if needed. I stared at it for a long time. It didn't make sense. What the hell was she organizing? And then I found the final piece that made my stomach turn. In her files, she had a folder buried under layers of innocuous names. Inside were PDFs, bank statements, lease agreements. None had my name on them. They belonged to someone else, someone I'd never heard of. A woman. But the signature? The signature was hers. She'd signed paperwork under a different name, used a different email, different address, a second identity. She wasn't just seeing someone. She had another life. She had another name. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. The apartment, the walls, the entire reality around me felt like it was built out of wet cardboard. And then my phone buzzed. Her text. Forgot my wallet. Be back in 10. I had exactly 10 minutes to decide what to do. So I printed everything, every photo, every file, every screenshot, and laid it out on the dining table in neat rows. When she walked through the door, still humming, still pretending, she saw it all laid out in front of her. She froze. I didn't speak. She didn't either. But I saw it in her eyes. Panic. Calculation. The briefest flash of something I hadn't seen from her in years. Fear. Because she knew I knew now. And that changed everything. She stood there for maybe 4 seconds, not moving, not breathing, not blinking. Just absorbing the full display of her double life, exposed and arranged like evidence in a courtroom. The stack of photos, the PDFs, the hidden notes, the name she signed that wasn't hers. For seconds of silence, and then she laughed. Not loud, not amused. A sharp, brittle sound like something inside her cracked under pressure but refused to break. Wow, she said, setting her purse down slowly. So you've been digging. I didn't answer. I wanted to see what she'd do without a prompt. How deep her improvisation would go. She didn't disappoint. You know what's actually insane? She continued, walking past the table and pouring herself a glass of water. You acting like this is some massive betrayal. Like you haven't ignored me for the last year. Like I didn't basically become a ghost in this apartment while you were too busy playing husband of the year for your fantasy version of me. I didn't look away. You created an entire second identity. She waved the comment away, as if I'd accused her of something pedestrian, like forgetting to buy milk. I had to. You wouldn't understand. I was stuck. I needed room to think. Think? I stepped toward her now, voice low, every word cutting. You needed a fake name, a fake lease, and a man's hand on your leg to think? She turned then, sharply. Glass still in hand, but her whole posture changed. Defensive was gone. Now she looked cold, steady, like she'd accepted that the truth was out and was calculating her next 5 moves. You want the truth? She said. Fine. I was bored. I felt dead here. You wake up every day and do the same things, say the same things, like we're in some scripted routine. You didn't even see me anymore. So I found someone who did. And guess what? I liked it. I liked having something that wasn't yours. Something that made me feel like I still existed. I should have felt rage. Or devastation. Or something. But I didn't. What I felt was clarity, freezing, flawless clarity, because that was the first honest thing she'd said in months. She liked the secrecy. The control. She didn't regret what she did. She regretted getting caught. Who is he? I asked, calm now. Her mouth twitched. She didn't answer. I took a step closer. Tell me. Still silence. Then finally, you don't know him. He doesn't matter. He mattered enough for you to build a whole second life around him. That's when she lost the upper hand. For the first time, I saw it. The shift. Her lips tightened. Her eyes flickered toward the folder on the table. That wasn't just some fling. Whoever he wasn't just a side thrill. He was part of the other identity. I pressed again. Does he know your real name? She stared at me. Does he know you're married? Nothing. Does he know who you really are? That got her. No, she whispered. He doesn't. And just like that, she'd given me leverage. He was part of the lie, not just a player, but someone she was manipulating too. So I said, he thinks you're her. This fake version of you. The one who signed that lease. The one who doesn't have a husband. She said nothing. But her silence was confirmation. And that's when I realized I wasn't the only one being played. She wasn't cheating. She was recruiting. For what, I didn't know yet. But there was a plan here. And I was only seeing the surface of it. I gathered the documents into a single folder, sealed it, and looked her straight in the eye. I'm going to find out who he is. She stepped forward, sudden, not quite threatening, but definitely urgent. If you talk to him, she said, voice like ice, you'll ruin everything. And I smiled. Exactly. I didn't sleep that night. Not a second. She went to bed like nothing happened. Shut the door, curled up on her side, back to me, and disappeared into whatever dream world she'd built to justify all of it. But I stayed awake in the living room, staring at the folder, at the printed pieces of her other life. And one question kept looping in my head like a broken record. Who is he? I knew I couldn't ask her. Not directly. She was done giving answers, or worse, she'd feed me a decoy and vanish behind another layer of her mask. No. I needed to go the other way. Follow the fake name she used. Find the address. And start from there. So at 6:12 a.m. I left. The building was on the east side of the city. Not far. A narrow complex tucked between a laundromat and an auto shop. Forgettable. 3 floors, brick with green balconies. But the moment I saw the front door, something in my chest dropped. I recognized it. She had taken a selfie in front of that door once. Months ago. Told me it was outside a friend's place during a girls' night. I didn't even look twice back then. But now? Now it was the entrance to her second life. I buzzed the apartment listed on the lease she'd signed, not hers, not mine. The name was Lena Rowe. That's who she pretended to be. And when the door clicked open, I walked in. No plan. No story. Just the folder tucked under my arm and the weight of 6 years of lies on my back. The hallway smelled like fresh paint. New carpet. Renovated. She'd picked a place that looked like it was still becoming something. Of course she did. I knocked on apartment 2B. A man opened the door. Mid-30s. Athletic. Slight stubble. Confident posture, but not arrogant. He looked like someone who trusted his own life, like he never had to question what was real around him. I hated him for that. I also envied it. Hey, I said, and gave him the name she used. I'm looking for Lena. He blinked. Lena? She's not here right now. Who are you? I paused. I wanted to throw the whole truth in his face, rip the mask off his perfect little illusion. But something told me to wait. I'm her brother, I lied. She left something at my place. Said she was staying here. He relaxed slightly, like the word brother cleared me. Yeah, she crashes here sometimes. Is everything okay? I nodded slowly. She tell you much about our family? He laughed short, awkward. Not really. She said things were kind of messy. Did she mention she was married? He went still. The look on his face, it wasn't anger. It wasn't even confusion. It was betrayal. Slow, dawning betrayal. The kind that starts in the gut and crawls up the spine in pieces. He stepped back, ran a hand through his hair, and said quietly, she told me she was divorced. That her ex was toxic. Controlling. That he wouldn't leave her alone. So that was the story she fed him. I was the monster in the shadows. The jealous ex. The paranoid husband she escaped from. She'd rewritten me completely. Changed her name, her history, her entire self. And dropped into this man's life like a character in a script. What's your name? I asked him. He hesitated. Mark. I nodded. Mark. I don't know what she's told you, but she's still married. To me. And she's been living 2 lives. One with you. One with me. And God knows how many others. He looked at the ground for a long time. Then, finally, she said she was moving in next month. I handed him the folder. Photos. Screenshots. Lease agreements. Every piece of the truth she thought she'd buried. He didn't speak. Just held the folder like it might burn him. And then he said the last thing I expected. I think she used my name to open a new account. I stared at him. What? A bank account. She asked for my ID once. Said she needed it to help with some paperwork for her job. It felt weird. But she's persuasive. I didn't think much of it. So now there was fraud. Identity theft. This wasn't just about cheating anymore. It wasn't just emotional destruction. It was criminal. Mark looked up, eyes dark now. What do you want to do? I answered without thinking. I want to end her game. And for the first time since this all began, I had someone on my side. We didn't speak for a full minute. Not because we had nothing to say, but because the air between us had shifted. Mark, the stranger who unknowingly shared a woman with me, wasn't just shocked. He was activated. He'd been spun in her web just as deeply, maybe worse. At least I knew her real name. He sat down on the couch, folder in his lap, flipping through the chaos she'd left behind like it was a bomb manual and he had seconds to cut the right wire. His jaw clenched at every page. Photo. Note. My name. Her signature. His ID. She told me I saved her life, he muttered. Said I helped her feel safe again. I didn't reply. What was there to say? She made both of us believe we were the center of her story when really we were just props. Rehearsal pieces. One version for home, another for fun, and somewhere in the cracks, the truth she kept locked away. What now? He asked. I'd been asking myself the same thing. But as I watched him, saw the realization bloom behind his eyes that he'd been used, duped, financially compromised, the answer became clearer. She's planning something, I said. We don't know the scope yet, but it's more than emotional. She's been building something with your name on it. New accounts. A second identity. Maybe even a fallback plan in case this all came crashing down. He nodded slowly, piecing it together. A clean break. If one life collapsed, she had another ready. Exactly. But now she's compromised both. We needed proof of her next move. Something real. Traceable. And for that we needed bait. She trusts you, I said. You're the one person she doesn't think is watching her. Mark looked hesitant. You want me to what? Spy on her. Not spy. Just play along. Let her feel in control. Let her keep feeding you pieces of her plan. Meanwhile, I'll be watching from the outside. We connect the dots. Build a timeline. And when we've got enough, we confront her together. No, I shook my head. We don't confront her. We corner her. No escape. No room for another lie. He agreed. Not verbally. Just with a look. A firm, silent pact. We were strangers yesterday. Now we were allies in a war we never asked to be part of. By the end of that day, we had a plan. Mark would reach out. Say he missed her. Say he wanted to move in early, surprise her. We'd keep the tone light, sweet, familiar, just how she liked it. Meanwhile, I'd follow the paper trail. The fake accounts. The lease. The real estate agent's office tied to her fake name. Every thread I could tug. She messaged him that evening. I've been thinking about you all day. I want to show you something soon. He replied, something like what? She sent back a photo of a new key. Caption, to our place. But there's more to it than you think. Mark sent me a screenshot. And just like that, she opened the next door for us. The next evening, she told him she wanted to meet at a neutral spot. Said she had something important to confess, something that could change everything. We picked the spot together, an old cafe downtown with a view of the alley. I'd be watching from the other side of the window. Mark would go in alone. Let her talk. Let her dig the hole herself. And she did. She showed up in disguise, subtle but real. Hair dyed darker. Glasses she didn't need. Different bag. She sat down and said, I need to disappear for a while. Things are getting complicated. I've got money stashed. But I need help accessing it. I used your name for something, and I need you to verify it in person. Mark kept cool. You trust me that much? She leaned forward, touched his hand. I trust you more than anyone. You're the only one who doesn't lie to me. The irony almost made me laugh out loud from my seat across the street. When she left, Mark followed her partway, just enough to get a look at the building she went into, not our apartment. A storage unit. She had a stash spot. Everything was coming into focus now. The accounts. The documents. The fake identity. She was preparing for an exit, a clean one, with someone else's name on the trail, not hers. And now we knew where the pieces were. All we had to do next was collect them before she vanished. 2 days later, Mark got the code. She messaged him around noon, casual tone, like she wasn't spiraling toward exposure. Storage unit is 417B. Code's your birthday. Don't go without me though, haha. He screenshot it. Sent it to me immediately. And we didn't wait. The unit was tucked in a gated facility near the outskirts of the city. Industrial. Isolated. Exactly the kind of place someone uses when they don't want anyone asking questions. No cameras pointed at the individual doors. Just one near the front gate for security. We parked outside the fence and waited for the manager's shift change. At 3:17 p.m. he left for a coffee break. We slipped in. Mark punched in the code, his birthday, and the lock clicked open like it had been waiting. What we saw inside wasn't messy. It wasn't chaotic. It was terrifyingly organized. 2 medium-sized plastic bins. 1 small fireproof safe. A single black suitcase with a boarding tag already printed and attached. And on top of it all, a folder labeled closure. Mark opened the bins while I cracked open the folder. The bins were full of ID copies, some with her face, some not. All in different names. Credit cards, prepaid debit cards, burner phones still in boxes, SIM cards taped neatly to note cards that read things like London Plan, Denver Cover, Cabo Test. In the folder, there were letters. 1 addressed to Mark, 1 to me, and 1 to someone named Danielle. I didn't know who Danielle was. Neither did Mark. But the tone was different. More emotional. Almost maternal. It didn't make sense. Until I opened it. Inside were photos. Grainy ultrasound images. A fake birth certificate. A letter claiming full custody over a child that doesn't exist. The child she invented in that letter had my last name. Mark looked over my shoulder. Read part of it. And stepped back like he'd been punched in the gut. She made up a baby? I nodded slowly. And somehow attached it to us. The implications hit like a brick wall. This wasn't just betrayal. It wasn't even a love triangle. This was identity warfare. She was building worlds with us. Alternate timelines, full of props, characters, emotional backstories. And in each one, she had a new out. In mine, she was the wife trying to find herself. In Mark's, she was the survivor looking for peace. In Danielle's, she was a mother securing a clean escape for her and a child that never existed. This was more than manipulation. This was long-form con artistry. I turned back to the suitcase, unzipped it. It was packed for international travel, carefully folded clothes, a thick envelope of foreign currency, fake IDs in 2 more names, and a backup phone with no SIM. She wasn't preparing to disappear. She was days away from doing it. And she'd told Mark just enough to keep him close, to use his name, his trust, his presence as the shield to buy herself time. Meanwhile, I was the ghost. The husband she kept in the shadows, feeding me scraps of normalcy so I wouldn't sniff out the crater behind the mask. I picked up the folder labeled to my husband. My hands shook as I opened it. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't even a confession. It was a calculated monologue. She wrote about how she felt trapped, how she tried to leave clean, how she hoped one day I'd understand that what she did was for both our good. No mention of Mark. No mention of the fake child. Just a clean version of the truth. Sanitized, rehearsed, staged like a breakup note with theatrical dignity. I burned it all into memory. Then I looked at Mark. "We take this to the cops?" he asked. I shook my head. "Not yet." "Why not?" "Because if she finds out we know everything, she'll vanish. And next time, we won't find her." We had 1 shot left. She had a meeting scheduled with Mark in 2 days. She told him she wanted to leave it all behind and go somewhere they can't touch us. That's when we'd strike. But not with shouting. With silence. With evidence. And with the one thing she didn't think we'd ever have. Control point 2 days. That's all we had. 48 hours to hold it together, to act normal, to pretend like we weren't sitting on top of a detonator with her name carved into the trigger. Mark played his part. Perfectly. He texted her. Sent a voice note. Asked what he should pack. Even told her he'd cleared his schedule. Her replies came fast, affectionate, possessive, like she could feel her fantasy tightening into reality. She was calm, cool, completely unaware that both lives she'd built were beginning to collapse. Not in chaos, but in order. We chose a neutral location. She had suggested it herself. A hotel lobby near the airport. Quiet. Classy. The kind of place where disappearances don't raise eyebrows. She told Mark to meet her there at 3 p.m. sharp. Said they'd drive to the airport together, tickets were already handled. I arrived at 2:10. Sat across the lobby behind a laptop. Nothing suspicious. Business traveler energy. No eye contact. No movement. Just watching the entrance. I had the storage photos saved, the fake documents printed again, the letter she wrote to me, the one she called her closure, tucked into a slim folder next to my coffee. 2:54. She walked in. Different again. Hair pinned up, oversized sunglasses, plain hoodie, jeans, duffel bag slung across one shoulder. She wasn't wearing her wedding ring. She hadn't for weeks. But this time it was deliberate. A symbol erased. She scanned the room. Didn't notice me. Didn't think she needed to. 2:58, Mark arrived. She smiled when she saw him. A real one. Not the fake customer service smile she'd been using on me. She hugged him tight, too tight, like she was trying to transfer everything she hadn't said into his chest. "I've got the car waiting," she whispered. "I can't wait to be done with all this." That's when he stepped back. "I need to show you something first." She blinked. The first flicker of confusion. "What?" He pulled out a folder. Not the whole thing. Just a single page. A copy of the lease. Her fake name. The ID she'd created. Mark's birthday listed under emergency contact. Her face changed. She tried to smile. "What's this?" "You tell me." Silence. And then she laughed. Forced. Strained. Eyes scanning the room. "You're being dramatic. That's not even real." Mark didn't look away. "I know about the storage unit. I know about the fake accounts. I know about the fake child." That one hit. Her mouth opened. Closed. She tried to pivot, but she didn't know where to go. There were too many exits and none of them safe. "You don't understand," she whispered. I had to, and that's when I stood up. She turned, eyes wide, finally seeing me for the first time. She didn't speak. Didn't blink. Just froze. Like a deer spotting the second car coming from the other lane. I walked over. Calm. Steady. Folder in hand. "No more stories," I said. "No more versions. No more masks." She started. "No," I said. "You don't get to speak. Not here. Not now." She looked at Mark. Then back at me. "You're working together?" I nodded. "We've been working together since the moment you gave him your storage code." She staggered slightly. Just a step. But it said everything. Her empire, the careful network of lies, identities, emotions, threats, and soft manipulation had been breached. Not with brute force, but with strategy. And now she was standing in the wreckage with nothing but a duffel bag full of clothes for a life she'd never get to live. "I wasn't going to hurt anyone," she said quietly. I leaned in low enough that only she could hear. "You already did." Then I stepped back and laid the folder on the table between us. "This isn't the police file," I said. "That comes next." She flinched. Mark stepped beside me. "We're giving you a choice," he said. "Turn yourself in. Or we do it for you." She looked down. Her hands trembled. For the first time since this entire unraveling began, she had no words. And for once, that silence belonged to us. We thought we had her. Cornered. Exposed. Stripped of every disguise and safety net she'd built. She was quiet. Pale. Her eyes darted like she was looking for a reality where this wasn't happening. We stood there. Two men who had both loved her, lied to buy her, and now confronting her. She had no play left. No story to run with. Or so we thought. She sat down slowly, picked up the folder I'd laid on the table, and began flipping through the pages like they belonged to someone else. Methodical. Calm. Until she got to the ultrasound photo, the fake child. That's when something flickered in her expression. "You two are so sure you figured me out," she said finally, not looking up. "But you're missing the best part. We didn't respond. I didn't plan this to hurt either of you," she continued, voice steadier now. "That's the irony. You were both supposed to be chapters. Temporary. One for grounding, one for escape. And you'd never meet. Never overlap." Mark narrowed his eyes. "You just happened to use my name to open illegal accounts?" She shrugged. "I needed clean identities. I needed trust. That's not personal. That's logistics. That line hung in the air, cold, surgical. Not personal. Logistics. She closed the folder, tapped it once like she was punctuating her point. Here's what you don't understand, she said, finally meeting my eyes. This isn't the first time I've done this. The world stopped. Mark looked at me. I looked back. We were both thinking the same thing. She's bluffing. She has to be bluffing. But she smiled. Not a warm smile. Not regretful. The kind of smile a magician gives before the final trick. 3 years ago, she said, I was engaged to someone in Oregon. Name was Peter. Sweet guy. Smart. Dull. He thought I was a teacher. Had no idea I already had a fiancé in Seattle. That one thought I was a freelance writer. She leaned back. 2 identities. 2 full relationships. At the same time. I ended both in the same week and moved here. Changed names. Cut contact. Started fresh. My throat went dry. Mark whispered, why? Her eyes flicked to him. Because I could. That was it. No tragic backstory. No trauma. Just the high of it. The control. The ability to create and destroy lives like she was writing short fiction. Real people were her characters. And we'd both been cast without knowing. You're sick, I said. Flat. Maybe, she replied. But I'm free. And you still haven't called the police. She wasn't wrong. We hadn't. Not yet. She stood up slowly, adjusted the strap on her duffel bag. You won't. Because it's not about justice. It's about closure. And I gave you that. Mark stepped forward. You don't get to walk away this time. But she smiled again. That's the thing, Mark. I always walk away. And then she did. Past the velvet chairs, out the glass doors, into the soft sunlight like it was any other day. No sprint. No panic. Just an elegant exit. Like she'd rehearsed it 1,000 times. We didn't follow. Because the second she vanished around the corner, I reached into my coat pocket, pulled out the real card we hadn't played yet. A tiny black recorder, still running. Every word she'd just said, on tape. And her next stop wouldn't be the airport. It would be a holding cell. We drove straight to the precinct. Neither of us spoke much on the way. There was nothing left to say. We had the voice recording, the fake documents, the photos, the timeline, and now her own confession that this wasn't her first time. She'd bragged about it like a resume, laid out her history of deception with the calmness of someone reciting old vacation stories. That was her final move, her last bluff. She thought we wouldn't go through with it, that we'd fold under the weight of our own disbelief. She didn't know us as well as she thought. We walked into the station and asked to speak. When the detective sat down across from us, I dropped the folder on the table and pushed the recorder forward. Before you listen, I said, just know this, it sounds insane, but it's real. And it was. He listened in full silence. No expression. Just nods at the right places. A few scribbled notes. When the tape clicked off, he leaned back and said, do either of you know where she is right now? I answered. We let her walk away 10 minutes ago. He didn't blink. That's fine, he said. We'll find her. Within 2 hours, things moved fast. They traced the storage unit, verified the forged accounts, matched the names across multiple states, cross-referenced aliases with digital fingerprints. It didn't take long before another name popped up. Peter. Then another. Landon. There were 4 reports already buried in different departments across the country. All dropped. No one had the full picture. Until now. And we had it all. By the next morning, a warrant was issued. They picked her up at a bus station 3 towns over. She wasn't in a rush. Didn't run. She was holding a coffee and reading a paperback when they arrested her. According to the officer, she just said, took you long enough. Like she wanted the story to end like this. Mark and I were called in to identify documents, verify statements, confirm the voices on the tape. It was clinical, methodical. But for the first time, the truth wasn't something hidden in shadows. It was official. On paper. With a case number and a timeline. They didn't charge her with infidelity. That's not a crime. But fraud? Identity theft? Financial misrepresentation? Those were. And as the investigation grew, more names surfaced. More voices. Men and one woman who'd been played the same way. Different states. Same patterns. Same lies. Each of them thinking they were the one exception. The one she truly cared about. They weren't. She didn't care about any of us. But that's the thing about people who live double lives. Eventually, they forget which version is real. And when everything falls apart, they can't find their way back to either one. The last time I saw her, she was in an orange jumpsuit, hands cuffed, hair pulled back tight. She looked straight through the glass in the visitation room like I wasn't there. Then, finally, she leaned forward and asked, "Was it worth it?" I smiled. "For me? Absolutely." She tilted her head. "For you?" I asked. She didn't answer. She just leaned back, laughed once. Quiet and sharp, and the guards took her away. That was the end of it. Mark moved out of state a few weeks later. We still talk sometimes. Not often, but we'll always share something that can't be undone. Not pain. Truth. I filed for divorce. No mess. No fight. She didn't contest anything. What could she say? And me? I rebuilt. Slower. Smarter. With sharper eyes and a deeper threshold for silence. Because sometimes, the loudest betrayals come wrapped in soft tones and warm smiles. And if you're lucky, really lucky, you catch them before they disappear. Advice? Trust your gut. Ask the second question. Watch for the little lies. Because when someone builds a second life behind your back, the real danger isn't that they're gone. It's that you were never in the first one to begin with.